come back to the distinction he drew between money-burning companies and bootstrapping companies that can grow out of their own cash flow. But before we come to financing, the all-important topic, Claes wanted to slip in his top 3 points, which he forgot to mention earlier.
Yes.
Didn't want to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Then we go back to Mart's point. If you are a service provider, you have customers very early on, and you can bootstrap. What does that mean? You grow out of your own cash flow. You don't need venture capital or other external funding. But if you have a really new idea, don't provide a platform for other ideas, but you have a new idea of your own. How do you get funding? And here I would like to ask the Estonians first, because you know the local climate. If you are a postdoc at Talent Tech, have a great idea, and it is an idea that is money burning, where do you go to? What funds are available? What soft money sources are available? For the benefit of the students and postdocs, would you explain what money is available?
Well, I would say that I wouldn't classify the idea which requires a huge amount of money to be burned before you can verify the rightness of your concept. I don't think that in Estonian conditions it would work. You will be with a face in the mud very soon.
Yes.
And that is true also for the biotech all over the world.
Yes.
You can't, in biotech especially, where the development track takes years. It's not like IT, you sit down and have a good idea and you make it as a reality, as a product. Here you need, especially if you have a human applications, you need a huge amount of work to be done before you can say that it is safe and it can be applicable. So therefore, the good idea is what you which is a realistic, which is quite close to the market and to your service. Then, step by step, you can't do the quantum leap in Estonia. You have to go and climb quite slowly your ladder to actually make it happen. Because even now, we have had 10 years of the HIV vaccine development. And even in finished conditions, it is difficult to raise, let's say, 30 million euro for the clinical trial. And I think this is the issue in every country. It's not a piece of cake, it's a good idea. But to make this money really, there will be, of course, stages and milestones and so on. Still, that's a reality. It's a difficulty to raise that type of money. So if we come now to your question, how you would be able to do the realize the actual idea. First of all, you have to have a basis. You can't start from the scratch. If you have a company, then there are governmental institutions which can provide you the finances. Of course, you have to have a co-financing, what means that you have to have your own money or someone else's money.
Skin in the game. Investors always want to see that you are in it yourselves.
Exactly. So you have to have some money from fool or family or from an aunt or your grandmother, whatever, to put in addition to co-finance. So, and after that, again, ideas should be giving a real outcome so that you can pay back your loans. Of course, there are banks who provide the bridge loans. I mean, if you have problems with liquidation. But in Estonia, Enterprise Estonia is providing certain resources. Of course, the development fund, although those monies are so small that you can cry. I mean, what kind of
how much can you get?
Well, I think you have got how much? 5 million kroners.
More a little bit. Oh, even the first grant,
yeah.
Very first one. Oh yeah, something like that, 100,000 euros or something like that, first ones. But actually there's another aspect on that, and Martin mentioned that. In Estonia, the incubator systems also, both cities in Tartu and Tallinn, where you can get at least access to the space and access to some kind of equipment. Alternative, of course, is that you have your mentor at the university and you can do this very first proof of things just to demonstrate that your idea works at the university labs. And normally it works quite well, I guess. So, of course, course, you will run immediately to the IP problems, intellectual property problems. Who owns the patents? Now it depends on the country. In Estonia, of course, the universities, if you are employed by the university, you're working in the university lab, the patent will go to the university. So,
but this is not a problem, at least with the university.
No, it's not a problem, because you always can license it out from the university, get the exclusive licensing and start developing it. But the next problem comes actually from the different area, and it is the real funding. In IT sector, what do you need? You need good brain, pencil, computer, desk, and chair to sit.
Luck also.
Luck always, it's everywhere. But in biotech, you need a huge lab actually, and in order to build a lab, you need a couple of hundreds of thousands of euros, not less. Then you have a team, because alone you can't do much. Meaning you need to find money for equipment, you need to find money for salaries, which all means that you have to raise €500,000 at least to start the real work. Of course, you can get money from Enterprise Estonia, but still, in many cases, it's not enough, because you need 40%, 50% self-financing. Where will you get that? And what Mart really likes is the concept of most dynamic
organic growth.
Organic growth,
because it works.
So what is the university doing when it comes to keeping the patents alive and broad enough? Do they have money to make an international patent application, a PCT application, and then roll out it in national?
Yeah, the submission of the applications, yes, of course, and also keeping up all the office actions and so on.
Yeah.
But it's logical that they would like to get rid of that, either through licensing, either they sell it off. Okay. And for example, I have made all my inventions in university, most of them.
Right.
But this has been then transferred, and the company has bought the IP from university.
To your own company?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the US model almost.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So that is giving you assurance that if you make an invention, you claim that university, and it is fair to do that. University gets a credit for that, and then you can, through your company, you can then pay all the expenses, some overheads, and so on. And the university has fulfilled its important role in IP generation.
And how can you explain briefly the Swedish model?
Yeah, the Swedish model, as I said briefly, is that. In my role as professor at the university, I own all my inventions. Mm-hmm. So that means if I make, I'm a neuropharmacologist, so that's where I work mainly. If I make a discovery in that area, which is basically basic, has commercial applications, I own that property. And then it's up to me to file a patent application and to pay for the patent prosecution, etc. So I need funds to do that. But I can start a company really whenever I want on that basis. Yeah. And we have a model. I worked at the Karolinska Institute for many years in Stockholm, and there we have a model with a sort of tech transfer organization which is commercializing the holdings of the university professors and scientists. And we also have a matching fund, which is called Karolinska Development, which supports the development of these commercial entities. And Karolinska Development has invested in about 35 or 40 companies. Some of them are developing very well. The problem there is that when the companies are going into clinical development, then the costs are escalating, of course, as you mentioned. Just to run one clinical trial could cost tens of millions of dollars when you're going into phase 3.
So the difference is important, because if you have the Swedish model, there is no bottleneck tech transfer organization that you absolutely have to go through, no matter how good or bad they are. If you have the Estonian or German model, the university owns, you have to go to your university, and you better pray that you have good tech transfer people to help you, because that's the bottleneck. You have to go through there. I want to revert a little to the funding problem. We have heard two very persuasive arguments for bootstrapping, for organic growth. But just in case there is someone here who has a fantastic biotech idea and that can't be bootstrapped, what can he or she do? I mean, there are some European countries that have soft money funding schemes. For example, Germany has the High-Tech Gründerfonds. It's set up by German industry and the German state. And you get $500,000 for a flat 15% equity. And there are other sources of funding, such as foundations, for example. Whenever you can, in the early stage, when you have an idea that needs validation, try to get soft money. What is soft money? That means money that doesn't dilute your equity stake, because you'll need your equity stake for the later phase when you invite venture funds. So just for the possibility, someone has a great medical device or biotech idea that can't be bootstrapped. What is the advice of our panel to such people? Go to Sweden, perhaps, Claes?
Yeah, we have soft money from the state that makes it possible to take the first steps towards commercialization. And then we have expansion phase venture capital funds. I mentioned the fund I work for, Invest. We have done 120 investments in 2.5 years. Normal investment for us is up to a total of about 1 million euros. So we can develop the company fairly well. So in our country, in Sweden, it's possible to get both soft money and VC money. And part of the soft money that is provided to university professors is provided through the holding companies at the universities. So I have a budget. I can support our scientists by paying patentability searches, paying patent application costs, paying marketing surveys to be able to showcase whether this is a viable project or not. And then we have connections to the different investors. But it's not given, of course, that you get the money, but it's not impossible.
Mart and Toomas, are there foreign venture funds active in Estonia for those who have ideas that can't be bootstrapped? Are there foreign foundations that are active? What about the Wellcome Trust, for example?
Actually, yes and no.
Yeah, Wellcome Trust supports very much the research groups, as an individual researcher, as a group leaders and PRs. But to my knowledge, I don't think that anybody has been able to get the Wellcome Trust, the translational research.
They're starting to fund that, but it's very new and they themselves don't seem to quite know how to do it, so it's still experimental. But they're moving there. Yep.
But on the other hand, there are several funds actually who are financing startup companies even. Okay. They have done several of those, but still not in nowadays anymore, because the financial situation, financial markets are really low. So,
how about business angels? Do you have that in Estonia? Business angels?
Theoretically, yes. I think that there are sitting 2 business angels even right now.
But
we have put our own money into our companies, I'm sure. So.
But you're tying on to the money to develop your own companies, of course.
Yeah. So I think the lesson is you have to look beyond Estonia. You have to build your network within Europe and, if possible, to the US, because you may need money from outside Estonia. Next question. When I once talked 2 years ago to a German heart surgeon, Roland Hetzer, who developed an artificial heart, he said, when I started my company 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was considered indecent for a professor to start a company in Berlin, in Germany. People looked at you like you were somehow betraying academic ideals because you wanted to get rich quick. How is it in Estonia and Sweden? Is the culture changing? Is it respectable for an academic to start a company on the side, or do you have lots of explaining to do?
Well, in Tartu University in '98, it was actually the program of Spinoff company which was introduced as a result of that, the university supported and offered the space, also equipment, for more than 10 companies. It is true that out of those, 1 or 2 companies actually are now still operating, and one of those is actually Quadramed as such. So it was not necessarily negative attitude towards those people who started the company, although, of course, everybody thinks that now you're running after the money and that's, money is a dirty thing. But still, I believe that now when these companies are starting to offer jobs, and involve more and more university graduates on all levels. I mean, it is starting to shift the attitude towards positive attitude towards these companies, because they really offer a possibility for the career and actually alternative career to the academic science as such, because not everybody wants to become an academic scientist. There is not also money available for everybody who is graduated from university. So I would say that it of course depends on business you're running, but if it's a serious research-driven high-tech enterprise company, I mean, clearly this is a positive attitude in my opinion.
Glad to hear. Toomas, your experience?
The same is actually with the Tallinn Technical University of Technology. Same thing. In the past, there was the same Spinoff program where the university really encouraged its professors and other people just to start companies. They gave cheap space, let's put it this way. They were able to rent lab space and get some other support. I don't know, at the moment there's no anymore this spin-off program, I guess, even now. At least I haven't heard anything about it. But definitely university is interested that ideas developed in the university labs, they will become somehow commercialized at least. And there's even kind of pressure. If you have filed a patent through the university, and please take this patent and do with it something. Just let it sit there, because it doesn't pay off in any way. So.
At the same time, though, there are some issues like conflict of interest. Is there a conflict interest policy in Linköping, and what is it? What is conflict of interest? Could you explain to our audience, Claes?
A conflict of interest could be that you own a company or that you have a stakeholder in a company, and that it's regarded by your peers that you should not carry too much of your research into that company. But it's really no issue any longer. And in Sweden we have a very strong tradition on academic entrepreneurship interaction. In particular in the life science field, Astra was very much built on interactions with the universities. The Nobel laureate Arvid Carlsson is still alive. He's one of the main innovators to major products that Astra has developed. Pharmacia, that now is part of Pfizer, did exactly the same thing. They had a very strong tie with the Uppsala University. There was researchers working at the company that went over to the university and vice versa. And I had several of my co-workers who stopped working at Astra and went back to university, became full professors. And Anders Hallberg, who was vice chancellor of Uppsala University, he worked in my group for a couple of years. So there's a lot of interaction between the two environments. And also in the tech area, like Chalmers in Gothenburg has a very strong tradition of interaction with industry, and there's a lot of innovations that have come out of that environment as well.
Mike, you wanted to follow up?
Yes, I just want to emphasize that there is a potential for conflict of interests, and everybody has to be aware of that. But there is an important aspect in this being affiliated dually. First of all, I mean, if you are applying, for example, for FP grants, FP7 grants, like we do that very frequently. In that case, especially in cases where there is a SME-driven applications, SME-driven grants, this gives actually, by involving both sides, university research lab and SME, into one research project, and it is a very heavily then financed through EU frameworks.
Yes.
The second, Enterprise Estonia grants. For example, all my grants, what I have applied for from Enterprise Estonia, universities as a partner in there. So that way you really have let's say, basic research done at university, while all the, let's say, more developmental aspects are done in the company, because there is a specific attitude and mentality in business development or in commercial development versus research, where you really wonder, does it happen or not?
That's a key point that Mart mentioned there. Many academics that want to start a company, when they have their company, they continue to behave like researchers, curiosity-driven, and not thinking from their patient backwards. But the difference is crucial, and that means academics should usually never start a company by themselves, but they need business people, they need complementary skills. Before I go down, maybe ask for questions in the...
Just
a quick
a
point.
very brief
Claes.
comment. If you're a clinician working with medical research, what you really want to see is that your research is applied to the patient,
Yes.
and that the patient will be cured by something that you're developing, a diagnostic
Yes.
could be used, or a new medicine. There is, for instance, in Sweden today, yesterday there was an announcement that Professor Bengt Winblad at Karolinska Institute now announces that there was an interesting study in the Alzheimer's disease field, which is based on his academic research, and this will be developed into a company. So the company is a prerequisite to be able to develop this commercially into product coming to the patient. The second point, at least in my country, it has become a competitive aspect of your CV if you have filed for patent applications and if you have commercialized in terms of starting companies or interacted with companies in some way. So it's now it's becoming something that you can use in your CV to get better jobs, really.
Excellent. Before I move on to further questions among ourselves, questions from the audience. Go ahead, please. Get a mic so we can all hear you.
Yeah, my question is, I guess, for Professor Toomas and Mart. How do Estonian biotech companies compete for talent? How do you prevent that, your top PhD students and postdocs don't end up running to Linköping or, Sweden, Finland, other countries? Because I imagine the pool of talent in Estonia is not that big for biotech. I mean, it's TTU and Tartu. So how can you compete for talent? Are you bringing in people from abroad? How does that work?
Well, I would say that I force my PhD graduates, to leave the lab and country. They don't have anything to do here, otherwise it will be just inbreeding. Get out here and come back after 4 years with new ideas, with new experiences, and then you can be independent or work together with me, whatever scheme would there be. I don't think that it will be wise to keep people here, strangled here. Let them go to the world and learn things.
Brain circulation, not brain drain. Be confident that they will come back if here you have enough to offer them to come back. Further questions?
I would actually like to continue on that question because this lovely gentleman here asked about the talent in your scientific field. But as Toomas mentioned, that you also deal with large quantities of data, and we know that there is a bioinformatics lab in Tartu. So you basically also need the mathematicians, the IT guys, and then programmers. And I, as a software engineer, have seen how these small software startups make it really fast to the market. You can get and see your results in days, maybe in weeks, and it's really, how to say, a different mentality to prove your concept and to get acknowledged for that, to be like this rock star. How would you attract this kind of people? What would you offer them?
Collaboration, of course.
Collaboration, yeah.
This is so natural. The enabling technologies, whatever they are, material sciences, nanotechnology, IT, or whatever other, chemistry, whatever pharmaceutical technologies, these are needed when you are in phase of product development. Also, this has to be started already from the very early phase, not from absolute scratch, but if you are thinking already about application to treat certain medical conditions, you have to see that you can apply.
But how would you manage the impatience of a software engineer? Because they want to see the results in a month, not in maybe 3 years.
Well, that's a good question, but usually our IT applications, you just explain to them, what is the problem, and they come and they offer the solutions. This is actually interactive thing anyway. It's not just program writing or algorithm writing. This is to understand the problem where you have to apply to, and this is usually quite a tedious process, but it's everything, the same thing. And so I wouldn't say that we use IT all the time. I mean, this is different programs, different applications, different data mining, different analytical system, image analysis, whatever methods there are, IT is inseparable part of that. So therefore, I would think that looking at that, this is we both develop. I mean, it is not just God-given gift that you are the great IT and I am a great biotech and we do and solve the problems. We have to grow together and solve problems together. I mean, so I would think that this is a good example, I mean, how things are if there is a positive outcome of that.
And actually, there are like two different scenarios how to integrate these IT engineers or material sciences engineers or nanotechnology people into your project. One is hire them. Just create a group inside of your company. Alternative is collaborate. Yeah. You can always have all kinds of contractual things done. For example, one of our companies has a very good relationship with Jaak Vilo's company, Kuretech. Yeah. And it works perfectly. I mean, they are really mathematicians and they are solving our problems. And even in many cases, we don't speak even the same language, but still you can manage it somehow. You can explain them, then they can explain us. So, and it really works.
They usually don't understand.
Not always, but... Yeah.
We have 2 more minutes for a last round of questions, and we already have been moving to the human factor. I mean, ideas don't translate themselves. You have to build a team. What is the advice of the panel for a researcher that starts a company and for the first time has to act not just as an expert, but as a leader, has to motivate people, pick people, build a team? Claes, your advice, what to do about it?
Advice number 1, find a mentor.
Yeah.
Someone who is not employed by the company, but works without any charge to the company as a mentor to yourself personally. And the mentor should be someone that you respect, that has a long-standing experience from commercializing something in your own sector, and that has a big network that you can ride on. Because then you will have shortcuts in your development of the company. So that would be, I think, for me, the most important part. Then, of course, you have to pick the team, so you have a good balance between different personalities, is very important, and then, of course, competences. But these are obvious.
There is a question in the audience here.
Oh, okay.
Hi there.
Don't want to, yeah, please.
Like 20 years ago, if you know, also in the IT industry, actually, you needed maybe $10 million to actually start a company because you needed to build up the server park, you need to actually get the infrastructure in place right. Now you can do all those things, I mean, like with 100,000 euros because you have cloud platforms, cloud computing, and so on. So do you see that in also biotechnology, maybe in 10 or maybe 15 years, you will have similar kind of technologies, kind of enabling technologies as platforms? So also biotechnology research will be so cheap and accessible for entrepreneurs. Thanks.
Yes, of course. Just look at the DNA technologies for sequencing, where the Hugo project took a decade and cost a fortune, and now you can sequence the whole genome within 1 hour, and the cost is maybe $1,000, and it's going to go down. So that's a fantastic development, and now you can pick specific genes very efficiently and fish out the genes of interest instead of looking at the whole genome. So sure, there will be a lot of platform technologies that are developing as an interaction with technology, mathematics, etc.
Yeah, but still there's a difference. I mean, all these kind of standard technologies, they definitely become cheap. You can sequence human genome for probably $100 soon, but you cannot analyze the human proteome for this money. Yeah. So it means that if you want to do really innovative research, it requires innovative approach, innovative technology, and they are expensive always. They never will become cheap. So if you want to be on the front line, you have to spend money.
What?
Yeah, this is necessary prerequirement, I mean, to be competent in all the enabling technologies. But still, the most convincing, you must be convinced that idea what you have would principally work.
Yes.
Because you can spend millions and millions on all these sequences, like we can see 1,000 sequences, 10,000 sequences be done. And so what if you can't mine out this grain, what can grow to the real tree in the park? I mean, so I would think that in every project, innovative idea and understanding that it could be used for something is most crucial.
Yeah. So, either we finish just on time, or there's one more question in the audience.
Okay, there is one more question in the
One
audience.
last question. Could we have a mic, please, for the lady in the...
I have more general type of question.
Okay. Go ahead.
The difficulties of biopharma are very well known. For example, decreasing profit margins, decreasing R&D productivity in terms of money and time, and also less new products coming out of pipeline. By recent findings of OECD, approximately 75% of future economic contribution in biotechnology and also environmental benefits are likely to come from agriculture and traditional industry.
So what's your question?
My question is that yet over 80% of research investments go to health application. How to overcome in coming years this huge mismatch of these differences?
Anyone for a quick answer?
Just comment. When it comes to productivity in the sector pharma, that's very much your question as well. In the health sector, the problem is that, you want to follow up? The problem is that there has been a lot of technologies which have been introduced without working, like high throughput screening in the pharma industry.
I mean that economic contribution and environmental benefits are predicted to come from agriculture and from industrial biotechnology. But still, right now, we put most of the money we invest in health biotechnology. It means that it seems to be an unavoidable fact that most of the money will be burnt in that case. So how to overcome this problem and how to redirect to the direction where the promises are most likely to come?
Well, it's natural that before you can sell anything, you have to develop it. So I don't see the point, here. I understand that all the traditional technologies are yielding most of the goods what are now used by the society. But if we need to develop the new drugs or new diagnostic methods, of course you have to invest into these fields. And I'm not so sure that your numbers are correct, actually, because the cost is decreasing all time. And the problem why the medical development, the drug development is so expensive is application of the regulatory rules. Which have now become very, very expensive because it's a separate business for those people who are running it.
Probably there's
there was
another reason.
Was a lady with a ponytail had a question. I want to give you a chance for a quick question before we close. Would you stand up if you still want to ask your question and get a mic?
I want to add to the last thing is that lobbying always helps. But
Quick question.
Thank you for the opportunity. We have a common question for two of us. We're kind of both foreigners here in Estonia, so we would like to know, all the mechanisms discussed here in the panel were applicable to Estonian citizens, aren't they? Are there any mechanisms to get foreign students of TTU or the Tartu University to get involved in these developments? Thank you.
Best answered by the Estonian.
Just send me email.
Yeah, exactly. And you will have these gentlemen here available as well. Please approach them and talk to them in person. They're remarkable scientists and remarkable people. Give a big applause. Thank you.